And on that bombshell, we are live.
Absolutely.
I was
We're,
kind of hoping Nikki would make it because she's going to feel really bad she missed this. But um, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we use our petty and ill-informed opinion to mock basically everyone.
yes, absolutely. And there's lots of people this week, Richard, who deserve it. I
So
mean,
many.
I think we're really on the high mock scale. We've reached Mach 2.5, if I'm going to use an aeronautic thing. I don't know. We're breaking the sound barrier of Mach in this week. So
And
you have
congratulations to any children that are 5 months old. You have officially lived through two monarchs and four prime ministers.
I mean, that is pretty fantastic. I always said that. That's a good point, though. I never really thought of it like that. But if you would have been born um, on January 1st, 1999, I mean December 31st, 1999, and then and then lived through to a couple of days after, you could officially say that your life has spanned 2 millennia.
That's true.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
something everyone always says to me on New Year's Eve, and I want to punch them in the face. See you next year. And
yeah.
it's like, I'm going to kill you if you say that to me one more time.
Well, yeah, but it's true, and yet, yeah, if you're a politician, you can manifest that into all kinds of different promises. Well, but I mean, at the same time, I don't think that they even worry about telling the truth anymore. We've got past the we don't need to tell the truth anymore part.
Yeah,
I think that's true in Britain and America. It's just like, okay, here you go. Yeah, we're just gonna flop our shit out and then just tell you this is what it is. We're probably people of ill repute. We don't care about that, and we know you don't care about that because you'll vote for us anyway because you hate the other bastards more than us. So there you are. You get a big old spoonful of shit, and you like it. Freedom.
that's so accurate.
But anyway,
Anyway,
I
what
was
would you say, Kevin, if I told you that you had missed the event of the century?
I wouldn't be surprised, mate. I wouldn't be surprised because it seems like somehow I get myself into weird positions, but I also, I'm adjacent to big things. It's like I am big things. So what happened, Ray? What
You
happened?
get into your weird positions and you're adjacent to big things. That is the title of your sex tape.
Yes, I think
But
so. Yeah,
but
sometimes.
anyway, I am referring to something we both missed, and I'm just kicking myself about it. This is get ready, Kevin, because you can't unsee this once you've seen it.
All right. Okay.
AlphaCon 2022.
Oh my good. Oh my God.
Be great or be nothing.
Oh my goodness. Here we
Look at
go.
them. No. You can imagine they've all got names like Graydon, Faden, Braden.
The bull. I like
The
that one.
bull. Yeah, the bull. He's head alpha. In a room of alphas, he's the alphaest alpha that ever alphaed.
Well, the funny thing about it is you really can't get that many alphas together in one room. I
No, they'd
mean,
have to
because
fight for dominance.
yeah, exactly. So the very fact of the matter is that some of them are betas and cucks. We don't know which ones they are though.
Don't pull your punches there. But yeah,
No.
now there is something particularly hilarious about this poster, and I'm interested to see whether you spot it or not. You are a learned individual. I don't know. Tom probably would have because he knows random stuff, but I'm interested. Have a really good look at it. Silence. Kevin is putting it under the microscope.
Yeah, which is not a good thing because to be honest with you, I mean, because I do have be great or be nothing. Let's see.
Be great or be nothing. Well, I am nothing then because I would rather not be like these people. But okay. But can you
Okay.
see it? Can you
No,
see the particularly hilarious thing about it?
no, I can't. You're gonna have
Does my mouse appear?
okay.
Can you see my mouse on it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it's this. This is funny.
Aaron.
Okay?
No, no.
No, no. This symbol in the top left and top right. See that?
Yes.
That's what's particularly amusing about it. Now, what is amusing about that is alpha, of course, comes from the Greek alphabet, alpha, beta,
Right.
gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, the whole thing. But
Yeah.
the
Yeah. No.
symbol for alpha is
Yeah.
actually a small a with like an infinity thing. Right, yeah, Gabby got it. That is the symbol for lambda. That's what's pretty funny about this.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's a symbol for like change. See,
Yeah, that.
I was never, but isn't that what I mean? I think what they're trying to do is that was what the Spartans put on their shields. I always like that they use Spartan things as the sign for alphas because Spartans, as you know, were really like it or not, part of becoming a Spartan warrior was sleeping with men. And, I find it interesting that these guys, as alphas, don't realize that they would have been into a male sex uh, culture to the point where some of them, whenever they got married, had to dress their wife up as mannishly as possible in order to achieve orgasm.
Well,
Bet you didn't
that
know that.
Sparta was a nation of true alphas.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, they were all alphas.
So
Have
if
you ever
that,
seen the movie 300? That
well, that's
actually
what I'm
happened.
saying. So what I'm saying is according to them, the top of society are homosexual males that like to work out. I think we should get Richter on and tell him he's an alpha.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Richter should definitely go to this event. He would have some fun.
he,
But
he can hang out with the bull
the
and
boy,
and Jimmy
Jeremiah the Bull.
and Jimmy Rex, Jimmy the King, Bradley, Bradley. These are obviously fake names.
Yeah, yeah, they are fake names. It just, it's one thing. I think, and call me jealous, call me whatever, but I think it's like the most cringy thing in the world to say, I'm an alpha male, as
Yes.
loudly as possible. I can't even imagine how insecure you've got to be to
Well,
put a
yeah.
convention on.
Well, I think that the truth of the matter is, first of all, I find it interesting that it's in Salt Lake City, probably the home of the most repressed religion when it comes to sex outside marriage that we have in America. You know what I mean? Like, okay, Catholics probably you feel guilty about it, but you can confess about it. But if you're a Mormon and you're whacking your head,
Aren't Mormons allowed like 4 or 5 wives?
well, even if you were, I mean, you're allowed to do things. I think I'm not a Mormon, okay? I mean, but I mean, sex within the marriage can be defined as whatever you want it to be. So, I mean, I suppose that if you got married and you wanted to be kinky as hell, you could do it. But what I'm saying is that they're really not exposed to that amount of uh, or sexual impulse or things, and so therefore they don't. However, there's nothing worse. Like you'd always say, there's nothing hotter than a fallen Catholic girl. That's who you really wanted in high school if you could
Yeah.
get one. A former, a fallen Mormon is out of control. I mean, because at that point in time, they basically rebel against everything: drinking, smoking, sex. I have, you know what? I've been on like a debauched trip with a fallen Mormon, and I couldn't almost keep up with him. He was fucking out of control, mate. I'm telling you. It
Got to
was,
imagine because the Amish go on pilgrimages, don't they, to get it out of their system,
yeah,
and Mormons just live with it.
yeah. But I'm saying that at that point in time, it's like this is there's a little bit of a Presbyterian, thing with that, which is, like once you've gone that way, you can't pull it back.
Yeah,
You've stuck the iron in the fire now. You can't pull it back. And so a lot of them, unfortunately, just can't see it in moderation, because if everything's a sin and you've sinned, then it's too late. You know what I mean? So how many times can you get baptized? And whether, that's a show for another, that's a day for another show. I mean, like I said, Constantine, whenever he got baptized right before he died. And I think that was the way to go. You know what I mean? Wipe your sins away right before you die, because then you can't commit another sin, and you can get the unction, and then you head on. You just go straight through. It's like getting the VIP pass for the pearly gates.
just get out of jail free.
Well, no, but that's
I
what
don't think you're supposed to view it like that.
I know.
But
You're not supposed to view it like that, but you see. But here's what I'm saying is, people who lead countries think of things in a weird way that we don't. We seem to limit ourselves to well, what's moral in this situation? You know what I mean? Here's the situation, and this, what would be moral about it? The moral thing would be to say, I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to lead this life. I'm going to try to be a moral, good individual, and a person in power is going to look at it and say, what is the actual writing, of the law? Okay, all right. So basically, I can do whatever I want until I basically get washed away of my sins. Bam, dead. You know, I still, you know what? This is the thing. A lot of people get mad about the fact that, what about these serial killers and stuff like that that say, um, I accept God right before they get executed. According to that, if they have in certain religions, that's it. You got the freaking VIP pass. You know what I mean? Whereas if you'd been Christian from birth, and you got christened when you were a child, or baptized as a child, or confirmed at 12, basically you've had a long road ahead of you, because you know you've probably thought of women in a way that you shouldn't have, and things like that, and you've had to repent for all those different things.
no,
I don't
I
know.
just make peace with the fact that I'm going to hell. It's just
Well,
like,
I
you
mean,
know what? No point
well,
in denying it. Rod Dupree from the chat. So what? A ballroom with a urinal running from end to end down the middle, so they can all stand around and have a pissing contest and see who the biggest alpha is. That's what I'm trying to work out, Rod. What exactly does one do at AlphaCon 2022? Do you? Because as far as I understand it from YouTube, the way to be an alpha male is you have to be bulky, either natural muscle or steroids, or you have to have like a cool haircut. You have to have a chain around your neck, and you have to be standing in front of an expensive car. That's, as I understand it, what it takes to be an alpha male. So, do they just like take turns posing in front of expensive cars and like see who the most alphaist is?
well, well,
How
clear,
would you judge that?
but you see, here's the thing: if you look at if you look at the positioning of this photos, I mean, there are certain things where, like for example, here, look at that guy there in the back. Um, he's actually larger than the other people in it, even though the bull is the central the central person in the thing. And if you were looking at that clearly, you'd say the bull is the alpha male. He's got a double arm folded. He's got that sort of look. He's got that mean look. Remember back in the day, whenever they had the wrestler, the big boss man,
Yeah,
The
yeah.
big boss man was the alpha male, and the bull looks like the big boss man to me. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm
And the
seeing it.
and the rest of them, the rest of them are smiling, and some of them are looking to the side or whatever. But I mean, in order to be an alpha, I think you got to have a little bit of a what the fuck are you looking at? Look on your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That that's how if you walk into a room and you see a guy with that sort of like I just sucked on a lemon type thing, you either think this guy is a total fucking prick or he's in charge. But you don't really know how that is until the other people react to him. You know what I mean? Because it's the dynamics of the group that make the guy the alpha. You know what I
I
mean?
just, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. You forgot to point out the tattoo sleeve as well, for extra hard manness.
Oh yeah. The
But yeah, I'm really stuck. What would you? Yeah, well, uh, arguably, when it comes to looking hench, black people are better at white people than at that, Gabby. So I assume that black guys are even more alpha than white guys. Hot
well, yeah,
take.
well,
That might be racist. I don't know, but that's
well, that probably, you know what, that has a racialist component to it, but I
mm,
don't think, you know what, I will say this, that the average white man, even if we're trying to, you know, just get away from the fact that I mean, this is the way that culture in certain countries, not necessarily cultures other than Britain and America. But I mean, we do have that sort of almost tribal view of black folks. That's something that in some cases, unfortunately, and you'll see that Thomas Sowell and people like that sometimes will make the argument that black men try to perpetrate an effect or a look or something like that that actually hinders them, stereotypically black folk. But but this is the thing: all these people probably are terrified of black people. You know what I mean? It's like I saw this. I mean, like these look like the type of guys who like are those conservative males that will never go to a city because they're very afraid of black folk. You know what I mean? Oh,
oh,
I'm not.
these are. I looked into this because
Yeah.
I went down a rabbit hole with this, and basically these are all sons of rich people.
Oh,
These are all. It's basically white in privilege con 2022. Basically, that's what it
yeah.
is. But
Like
they're all trust fund babies, and you know. So yeah, I would definitely assume that they're afraid of black people.
right because they've never actually had to like interact with black folk. You know what I
Well,
mean?
except for Jeeves the butler. Yeah.
Well, but yeah, I'm just saying this is one of those things where I mean, like that is unfortunately like the way to do it. If you can separate the groups into different classes or people, you don't live in the same neighborhood and you don't do this and it's easy to demonize them. I think that that's what happens in South Africa or Northern Ireland or places like that. Those folks don't live in the same neighborhood you live in. You know what I mean?
No.
That's one of the things that gives me hope about America is that even though Democrats are supposedly that they hate Republicans and Republicans hate Democrats, you live next door to one. You know what I mean? So therefore, we're not going to burn down parts of the city. You're not going to go to your next door neighbor's house and light it on fire. So that I mean, that's what gives me hope. We haven't like gone to the point where we have like segregated neighborhoods yet. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I would have enjoyed that, Richard. I think I would have loved to have flown you over, and like we could.
We wouldn't have even got in the door, Kevin. All right.
No,
We're
we could.
just
We
we're
could.
just omegas. We don't compare to the alphas.
You can buy one of them those upper body suits that make it look like you. So we could just buy one of those upper body like foam suits and put it on over the thing. So even
Kevin,
though
the muscles are just part of it. You know, you've got to have the expensive car to pose in front of. You've got to have the chain. You've got to have the sleeve. You've got to
Yeah,
have the
but
douche beard. You've
okay,
got
but
to, you know,
look at it this way, right? So, like, okay, Salt Lake City is not. I mean, it's about what 6 hours away from Las Vegas. We could go to Las Vegas, rent a Ferrari, drive it up to Salt Lake, get out of it, you know, and then act like we're all badass. That's all I'm saying. That's
just
all.
walk in and be like, sup, douches. It's
Yeah,
us,
that's
the
right.
alphas, Kevo and the rich dog.
That's it. Exactly. I could say
Richard, the ferret Talon.
that's what I'm saying. That, that that's what I'm saying. It's the funny part about it is, and it's interesting is we have to just we have to give perceived value, not actual value. You know what I mean? If we were to pretend that you were rich, they would all fall for it. That's what I'm saying. Because I mean, why do it otherwise? You know, and it's the same. It's the
I
same
just,
reason. It's the same reason that Bigfooters do conventions too. They're all looking for the big rich guy who's going to come in and be like, oh yeah, I've got $3 million here so that somebody can, you know, you know
that can be the tagline for AlphaCon 2023, Gary.
what's that?
Be great or be nothing, no fatties.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know about that though. I mean, some of them look like they don't look like beef cake. I think they look like I don't know. They look like beef donuts.
I can't, because I looked into it and apparently they were giving speeches and stuff, you know, TED Talk, their version of a TED Talk, I guess. And I
Right.
can't even imagine what any of these people would have to say for 2 hours. You know, be a lot of
Right.
dude broing and
Right.
stuff. But
That's clearly. I mean, what I think. What I
so fun, good one.
what I what's
I bet Matt Johnson will be there at AlphaCon
Oh
2023.
my god! I think he's lost his freaking mind again. He's okay. But
All
look
right,
at
all right, all right. Let's just end AlphaCon. What's Johnson been up to then?
well, he's been all There's some sort of QAnon thing. I think that's coming back. It's we're all waiting for Trump to do something before the election. You know what I'm saying? It's always the election, and I've seen him with the sort of Trump holding the popcorn thing, which means that of course we're going to take the government back by any means necessary. Hopefully, it's just through the voting process, and then at that point in time, everybody's going to get their comeuppance. Joe Biden's going to be impeached. Kamala Harris is going to be impeached. The guy who's in charge of the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, he's going to be impeached.
Oh,
Apparently.
yeah, that reminds me. It's been 2 years, and Joe Biden hasn't even been almost remotely impeached yet.
Well, that's
It's
because they don't have the votes. If
yeah,
they if they flip over the House, you see, there's like 5 members in the House that like are holding this into a Democratic. I mean, the hold on it is very very thin. And, in the Senate, it's like 1 vote, and the House is like 5 votes. So you just have to turn these few things over. So this is why it's really. I mean, this is one of the reasons why nobody cares that Herschel Walker's had 75 abortions or whatever. But because at this point in time, it's too late to do anything else. They get themselves into the situation where, you can't not support them. And so that's what you have to do in lean days, right? If they had a 10 senator advantage, they'd say, "Oh, you get out. You're not representing us." But whenever it's coming down to thin strips, you're going to support them all the way. But so if they flip the House over, obviously you're going to have like people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and who's that wrestling dude that got in trouble in Ohio State, except he didn't get in trouble in Ohio State for not saying that the kids were getting abused.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, anyway, he's a dickhead. But anyway, he'll be in charge of something. and then he'll start impeaching people because he'll say that that this whatever he's done is done. And now the thing about it is they'll have the votes to impeach him. So they'll say, okay, Joe Biden's impeached, but it doesn't mean anything if they hold on to the House because they won't vote for it. We all know that they won't vote for it. They'll say, oh, we didn't get to say anything. They'll just run it through like what Trump did. You know what I mean? They'll basically run it through for a week, let him say his thing. Everybody will say it. He'll get off. That's it.
But
then
so,
but
then despite the fact that 2 years ago, Matt Johnson made several videos claiming that Bigfoot and the QAnon Secret Service were going to storm DC and stop Joe Biden from being inaugurated as president, and that didn't happen. He's still committed to the QAnon faith that
this is the thing I don't understand, mate. I thought that they had determined who it was. That he was like some creepy little dude that was living in his mom's basement, running the thing from 4chan. It's like he comes out and admits it, then he goes on the run somewhere, and now it's like, oh no, well he wasn't really. That's a fault. I mean, this is the thing, right? You cannot convince this group of people that it's all a scam, and the other people don't want to. So I mean, at this point in time, they've always got a way out. They could say, okay, yeah, they said he was the guy that was in charge of it, but he's not really the guy who was in charge of it because the other guy that's in charge of it wouldn't do that and everything else. So once you believe in it, there's no way around it. You know what I mean? But that's like believing in God. You can't tell somebody that God doesn't exist. I mean, you can't make a logical argument.
That's true. You can't prove a negative.
Yeah, because they'll just say, well, you look at all this stuff happening. And then you say, well, look at all the stuff that doesn't happen. You say, yeah, but that's part of the plan. You see, it's all part of God's plan. It's all part of Q's plan. It's all part of Trump's plan.
I hope Q gets away because you know what will happen if the government catch him. They'll feed him to Bob Gimlet.
Well, exactly. If he is a person. But I mean, like I'm saying, it's like, again, Q as an idea went forward, then I believe that it's just like there's other people involved with the catalyzation of Q. You know what I mean? If you were a Russian or if you were a North Korean or whatever, you can't say that somebody's saying, hey, let's get behind it and make it look like this guy. I mean, It's like, okay, maybe you're not associated with it. Maybe you're not Q. Maybe you're not that. But you would be stupid if you were another country and you're saying, hey, come on, let's take advantage of this to fucking start fucking with shit. You know what I mean? Me and you as people, just as regular douchebags, would do that for free. If we
we would.
For enjoyment.
Absolutely would. Just for the love of the game.
Yeah.
But you know what? Yeah. Before we move on to the topic for tonight, if I could have one wish this Christmas, it'd be to have Bob Gimlin come on this podcast and finally admit the truth that he killed those Bigfoot at Bluff Creek and ate them.
Exactly.
Just one time, just do a normal interview with him, and then right at the end, him just go, "I totally ate those Bigfoot," and then hung up.
Well,
that would be brilliant.
I think what would be interesting is, my prediction is I think that Bob's in the next 2 years. I think Bob will head away to the big Bluff Creek in the sky, as it were. Because I don't see him going out and doing stuff anymore. Even in a lot of
things. His rest, if any man amongst us have. Do you know ancient Mayans? You remember the Mayans, right?
Yeah.
They said the Earth was going to end. They didn't think that you needed to be good or bad to get into the afterlife. You just had to live to be a certain age, and then you'd earn your place in the afterlife. And I respect that a lot. I get it. Just going through life to a certain age, living your max life and dispensing your wisdom. Because old people are wise, just from experience. I mean, some of them are stupid, don't get me wrong, but they are wise. Yeah. Wisdom comes with age. But, he's earned his rest.
I completely agree with you. I think that one of the things that I mean, as a parent, no, I basically say to my kids, don't do the shit I did. You know what I mean? Because it's just
Safe
like,
in the knowledge that they're most definitely going to
well,
do the
yeah, they
same shit.
definitely will. Because if you say don't do it, they have to.
Yeah.
But
I
then
mean,
there's
that's the expression, isn't it? I wish I knew then what I knew now. But people then tried to tell you, but you didn't listen because you then was a twerp.
right. Well, somebody told me don't go to Matt Johnson's conference, and I did. Anyway, what I'm
Everybody
saying
did.
is, what
Repeatedly.
what am I saying? What I'm saying is, okay. So Sasquatch Summit, which is the last, I think, the last Sasquatch thing event around the Pacific Northwest, it's put on by old Johnny Manson, one Johnny Manson, and so he always has Bob Gimlin there. You know what I mean? Signing autographs and stuff. And he's not doing it this year. And so well, that I know of. So I mean, it's the same. It's the same old, same old. Don't get me wrong, but uh, but Bob is usually there, and he's not going to be there this year. That I've seen in the um, in the thing. And if anybody knows Johnny, you know that he's very hard to get a hold of because he has got to be like the most super ADD person I've ever met. Like you could be in a conversation with him, he'll forget what the start of the conversation was about.
Matt Knapp's like that as well. You talk to him and he'll just forget what you were talking about.
Yeah,
But he's a good lad. He's a good lad.
but he has this English friend named Brooklyn, and I think he is the funniest cat on the face of the planet. It's just because he's a big tall black guy, and he's from Bristol, and that's just a funny combination of accents. You know what I mean? Like you normally think that somebody's going to have a Brummy accent or like a Cockney accent or something, but it's the he's a dead good guy too. So we always have a laugh. So yeah.
So anyway, moving on to tonight's topic, which
No,
is
wait a minute.
survival.
Wait a minute. Okay,
What?
wait a minute. I think we should take a minute and think about Lola and her brain cancer. How can that happen?
Dude, don't even. Don't even. It's been an emotional week on the square
Yeah,
since he finally came back, and we're all looking for, uh, you know, her and Eve to get together. Callum and Ben finally got back together, and I'm not going to lie, that did bring a tear to my eye. I was very happy about that. Very
right.
sweet to see those two kids. But yeah, Lola getting brain cancer out of nowhere. Well, they have been making a big deal about it. Her needing a lot of ibuprofen for the past few weeks, and I wondered what they were doing. And I know the actress that plays Lola has quit.
Oh, has she?
So I think we can put two and two together. What's happening there?
All I can say is from that standpoint, um, I mean, when we were watching the show, she was wearing like a tangerine top with like a very
Don't,
very
you're
yeah.
going to mention her incredibly abnormally huge boobs, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely,
I
absolutely.
tell you what, I went around to see my parents this week, and I watched an episode with my mum, and even she commented.
I was just like,
What she said, "What's going on with Lola's tits?" I was like,
yeah,
"Mom," but yes, what is
they
going on?
were massive, man. And I just said, I just thought to myself, wow. And I mean, like normally you're not gobsmacked like that, where you're just like, I have to say something. But they were very, very prominent. And I don't know. But anyway, so that's too bad that Lola's going to leave because she's a good kid.
I like Lola. I
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
hey, A Space NG. I've only one thing to say to you: sausages. But
All right. Let's move forward. I
let's
just
move on
want
to the topic. So 2 weeks ago,
yes.
well, 2 weeks, 4 days ago, a
Yes.
video appeared on my Facebook feed that just enthralled me. It was by a channel called Cyprian Outdoor Adventures, and it was the simple construction of an outdoor shelter. He cut down a bunch of trees, chopped them up, and he built himself like a nice little cabin outside. Cabin's a
Right.
bit of a strong word. A
Yeah.
shelter.
Right.
And it was completely in silence. It was just the sound. He didn't say a single word. It was just the sound of him chopping the wood and putting it all together. It's called ASMR. Is that what it's called? And it's a genre. Anyway, I fell in love. And once more, I watched it like multiple times. And I realized with a little bit of practice, I could take a swing at this.
Right.
I haven't yet. I'm waiting. I didn't have the necessary tools. I'm waiting for one more tool to show up, and then I'm going to take a shot at it. But then it got me thinking, because I watched all of his videos, obviously, and he's a survivalist. He's an outdoor survivalist, and I thought we could discuss what. There we are. Thank you. Auto sensory motor response. Gabby's amazing. We all love Gabby. You know everything. She may be a deranged lunatic superfan that's no doubt one day going to kill me and wear my skin, but she's really smart.
Yes. Absolutely. Always has the answer. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I
But
think.
yeah, I thought we could discuss what, if any, survival skills we would improve upon or possess.
Well, well, I've had some survival training, and I've lived a little. I've lived off grid before, and so I think I'm pretty good about it. And one of the things that I find what was interesting that I like, I'm going to tell you the little genre niche that I go down, which is like if you were to look at sort of the way that different houses are constructed under with different materials, and but how similar they are around the world, and yet obviously, you've got the two things. Now, did this man's that this is the critical point? Did he make like a rectangular building, or was it a round building?
He's made both, but the video I watched was rectangular.
Right. I think that's a little bit harder to do in my estimation. Maybe not from the standpoint of the structure itself, um, but because I think you're either going to take sort of the wattle and daub wall. I mean, it seems to me like the construction of a lot of these. I mean, and I have a lot of archaeological bent as well. So sorry, I'm going to be a little bit geeky here. But a lot of these constructions on these things have like a pattern where you take the stakes, stake them into the ground, and then you weave like a willow branch through back and forth through it, so it creates this sort of effect of like a fence almost. It's still got holes in it and everything like that. At which point in time, then you take the usually mud mixed with some sort of a binding agent like straw, or if you can get it, shit, and then rub mix it together and then daub it on the walls. That's why you call that wattle and daub. And so that what that does is it actually creates a barrier that's windproof. And then you go around and then you put the roof on. The roof, if you're doing it with reeds or something like that, will actually breathe. So it'll let the smoke out. You don't need a chimney. And
Yeah.
and so at that point in time, you can do it pretty quickly. You really can. And as long as you're in the right area, that you can get sort of the young supple trees and reeds or something like that, you're ways ahead. I mean, you're miles ahead. I mean, I think where you're at, except on the other side of in Northumbria. You're in what, Cumbria?
Yeah.
Yeah, in
Tippy
Northumbria.
top, right next to Scotland.
Yeah, on the other side they had like it's one of the oldest uh, places of worship they've found, and it's almost stone. It's like Stone Age, early Stone Age or something like that. I think they were saying that when Doggerland had just disappeared or something like that, and so these people were there, and you could get to mainland Europe through that side of it. But they had made a lot of different things there for um, ceremonies and stuff like that, and even including like a pier to go out on and throw these ceremonial items into the lake. But that's the design that they've used there for 14, 15,000 years. And around here, the natives do this exactly the same thing. So it was interesting that whenever I had been taught how to make sort of these prehistoric uh, uh, Mesolithic structures, this is where we go back to Sasquatch. They look exactly like what people claim Sasquatch houses look like, or structures look like. That outside round thing with the thing on it. What I don't seem to understand about these construction of these buildings is that clearly man has been doing that for 15,000 years, and Native Americans do that exactly the same thing. Why they don't know? I mean, here's the thing: because we don't know what Native Americans do, we think that Sasquatch are doing it. And but the other part about it is that who's ever in making these things out in the woods are using a tarp or some way around it to as the wall, the main tarp barrier or something like that, so that they don't get wet. Because what's the point in putting a bunch of sticks in the wall that you can see through? You might as well just sleep under a pile of leaves. That actually is going to give you better things. So I mean that's what I've always said. I just think, I mean, Sasquatch are smart. I don't think, I mean, I would think that if there are Sasquatch, they would be able to use fire. I think they would be able to build buildings. But anyway, the thing that you need to do as a person who's out in the woods is know how to make shelter and know how to get fire. Those are the two things that will help you stay alive. Because unless you've got a ton of water or a way to purify the water, the closest way you're going to be able to do that is to boil it. And that's the thing that'll kill you if you don't get that done in the first 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, you take a big plastic bottle with you, and once you made a fire, fill half of it with charcoal and put river water through the charcoal into a pot and then boil it, and that'll kill everything.
Right. But it depends. Now, listen, this makes a big difference. A lot of people don't know this in survival training. You only need to boil water at sea level for a minute for it to be clean of anything, all the different bacterium and everything like that. At elevation, because the boiling point changes, you need to adjust the times. So you need to add a minute for every 1,000 feet above sea level you are. So if you're in the Cascade Mountains, you need to boil the water for 5,000 feet. If you're in Colorado, you need to boil it. You need to boil it for 10 minutes because you're looking at 9 to 10,000 feet. A lot of those different places that you're going, and so that's going to make a big difference because you can get beaver fever by boiling water because you haven't boiled it enough, because you're not taking into account that the difference in air pressure and the difference in the amount of oxygen does make a difference in how things work. Other than that, I would one of the things I think is great. Obviously, always take a lighter with you if you're out in the woods. But the easiest way I found to make a fire from scratch is to use what's called a burning glass. And a burning glass is just basically a big old thick um, um, magnifying glass. It's just the lens. It's a lens of a magnifying glass, and you can actually suck that down. You can get that into a little pinpoint in the sun, and bam, you'll be surprised how fast stuff goes up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I have to say, from personal experience, using flint is not as easy as you think.
No, it's terrible. You know, the things that I think are that easy. You know, the things I think that are easy to use in order would be a lighter, matches, the burning glass, obviously, in the sun, and then those magnesium starters that where you take the bit of magnesium and you chip some off, and then you use the flint and steel to light into the little ball that you've got, the tinder ball, and the magnesium will catch, and that'll make it very easy to start the fire, going from there. But you know, that's one of those things where I think, you know, when we used to go out in the woods for a long period of time, I used to tell that to people like, you know, Shane Carson. I said, you know, what are you going to do with? Oh yeah, well, they're going to go out there with their tent and everything like that. And, you know, and I was like, you know, nothing, no disrespect against anybody who does any sort of actual Bigfoot research stuff if they do it. You know what I mean? And I'm not picking on them specifically. But what I'm saying is if you go out there smelling like fresh as a daisy, I just, you know, did my laundry and Tide and Bounce, and I smell like, you know, I've got my, you know, like Obsession by Calvin Klein. Now I'm dating myself. But anyway, you know, if I've got all that
You
on
have
me,
to get alpha there, Kev.
you know, yeah, I know. And if you've got all that on you, you might as well just go home, brother, because something can smell you for a mile off. You know what I mean? Any
Hmm.
animal can smell you. And so you've got to basically start to prepare to have sort of, you know, not shitty clothes, but just clothes that smell like you, that don't smell like a laundry, that don't smell like all these different things. And you've got to go out there and you've got to, you know, take as little as you can, in my opinion, and just sort of hunker down and sort of observe it. Now, snipers know that. You know, if you're in the army or whatever, you know that. Basically, the first thing you do is you find a little hide, you sit in it, and you just wait for a couple of days until stuff goes, you know, past, and then you know, then that's it. That's the only way you're truly going to find it. I mean, I think, because I don't think they're stupid. I don't think. I mean, I think that if something comes out of the woods and lets you film it, it knows that it's being filmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. If Patty is real, Patty knew she was being filmed.
Well, yeah, she turned around and looked at him.
Yeah.
And then
Now,
Bob
whether
Gimlin shot her and ate her.
exactly. Now, whether she understands it or not, what that is, she knows that something was going on. That it would,
Hmm.
you know, like that was it. I mean, you know, if you talk to some people, you'd say primitive people think that cameras steal their soul. Well, they still know that you're pointing a camera at them, and they still know that you're trying to capture something, even if it's an image or a soul picture or something like that. So they know that their essence has been caught. So you know, I just think that that's one of those things where you're going to have to catch it with curiosity. But like I said, you should be able to work these different items so that people can do that. But you know, a lot of times and you don't have to necessarily be some sort of expert. This is easy to do. It's, you know, I think what you're talking about really is bushcrafting a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and
And
yeah,
and
and then
fire starting as well was something I
yeah,
wanted. Because, like, I thought flint, steel, pretty easy, right? You get the spark fairly easy, right? You've
yes,
done it.
yes,
That is, it's a lot bloody harder than people make out. So I'm there with the tingling, like, took like 30 minutes for me to get an ember going on that.
right. Well, here's what you need. Here's what you need to do, brother. I think this will help you out. Go ahead and get the lint out of your dryer. Go down and get the lint out of your dryer, and then get some candle wax or some kind of food wax or some food wax sealer. Then melt that down in a double boiler on your stove. You know, or you could use it. You know, just depending on the way. I would use a double boiler. You know why? Because it's, you know, that way.
Hmm.
And then put it in an ice cube maker. type of thing, and basically fill that up to the point where the lint is mixed fairly well with the wax, and you've got a little bit of a wick on it. That use the lint to put the wick in, or you can go down just buy a shoelace or something like that and put it in the top. Now, what that'll do is, again, when you scrape that so that your sparks go onto that's going to catch that lint, and that little block will actually probably last for 10 minutes. You can start a great fire off a block of that wax, because it'll the lint in the wax will be very combustible. It'll go straight up, and then it'll last 5 or 10 minutes. So you're not really running around. You will have a great fire in not very much time. But that's when that's one of those things where you can do that. The other thing that you could do is, in the British Army, they used to have these things called hexamine cookers, and hexamine cookers are basically just these little. They're about the size of maybe a little bit bigger than a deck of cards, and and what they do is it comes across and it opens up, so that basically you can put the little pellet inside, or a couple of different pellets of this hexamine block, and then you can put a cup on it and boil water so you can have a brew up, right? So the hexamine itself, if you can get the hexamine that comes in a little army little tablet thing, Esbit makes it, or if you can get it from a surplus store or something like that, where it's just like a little rind tablet, you just spark right into that'll start it, and that's a great fire starter as well. So you basically got to use the things itself, because you've got to have perfect conditions if you're going to start a fire with like a knife and flint or whatever onto a ball, because all those things have to be dry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might be able to get moss or something like that, but if it's damp or whatever, you're going to have problems. It invariably, if you're going to be in a situation, in my opinion, where you're going to need to survive in the woods, it's because the weather has been a factor in why you're stuck out there. In my opinion, So you've got to. I mean, you've got to be one of those people that tries to do that. But no, I think you're right on the money. And people do. I mean, back in the day, you used to be. I know I did it. Thomas Seawood did it. He's one of those people that's like, okay, give me a knife and 2 or 3 things, and I'll go out in the woods and I'll come back and I'll see you in 5 days or whatever. You know what I mean? I've done shit like that. He's done stuff like that. I mean, it can be done, and as long as you are drinking plenty of water and it's clean water, and you stay relatively warm at night, if you're doing it in the summertime, yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, and not to mention, you would feel in charge of your environment. You know what I mean? You wouldn't feel so lost anymore. I think that's one of the things where you go out in the woods and you feel like you're so out of place. But whenever you can get into a situation where you could go, okay, if I was stuck in this scenario, I could do it. You know what I mean? And I think everybody should be able to look after themselves for about 3 days. So if you were out in the woods, because I've told you this, Richard, I mean, I've been off trail in the woods around here, and could have potentially broken my knee, my hip, all kinds of different things. I've gone through bits of forest floor into secret hollowed out tunnel things. Either that's a natural occurrence or whatever, under a tree stump or whatever. And it's just like, if I could get myself out of it, but a lot of people maybe couldn't or whatever. Or if you break your leg or break an arm, you're stuck. You need to be able to pull out some stuff that you've got on you and be able to indicate that you're hurt or that you're there,
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's it. with the way that the weather has been around here, we can't go out in the woods and do anything because they're all on like they've been on fire. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, we get back to a normal thing. I don't know. Maybe you guys are the new Pacific Northwest. You in the areas around the sort of borderlands. But you know those borderlands that you're in. You know that's got to be sort of hard to you know be able to get the materials that you're going to need. You know what I mean? Yeah. Is there lots of trees and stuff in around your area there? Or
Yeah, there's plenty of wood.
is there?
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, I
Well,
can definitely pull it off. I'm going to do it as soon as that tool shows up and I've got some time. And I'm going to take a video and probably maybe even show it next week on the show.
well, I think that I think you should. You know, one of the things I think was one of my favorite things that I got lately off there. I'm a nerd into this kind of stuff, so I mean, as you can tell.
Hmm.
But I got you can make a sort of a two-chambered gasifier out of two tins that you do, or you can buy one online. It's a sort of a gasifier effect, and so what happens is that it's got no floor in it. It's got a grate where you put the material in to burn, and because of the fact that it burns, the gas goes out of the bottom of the thing up through the wall, and then it comes out at the very top of it, on top of where the fire is. So what it happens is that it actually the exhaust gas, which is very flammable, comes back into the chamber and then reburns. So
Hmm.
it's super efficient. And yeah, so I mean that's what I've got one of those. It's not very big, and that thing rocks. You don't have to use that much material in it to burn anything, and it keeps you warm and then boil your water, all those different things. I think that's it. You know what you need is your EDC carry thing, your everyday carry thing that's got to that's the the basic bits that you would have with you on your body that you could save your life with, and then you've got your 3-day bag in your car or your room, so like if you had to last for 3 days, you got 3 days worth of food in there or something like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. Good stuff. Definitely going to give it a try myself. What do you want to talk about next week?
Well, it doesn't. Oh well, I want to talk about how. Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll
Hmm.
see how it goes. I think that if it's good, we're going to have a ton to talk about. If it's not so good, we'll have a ton to talk about. But I think, regardless of the fact is, there'll be certain different things about it. Um, because I really do believe that we do learn from trial and error, and in a lot of ways, some of us, uh, you know, um, there's no experts. I think that that's the interesting thing. Whether we've all been watching Bear Grylls our whole life, or there was a program that I really liked on TV. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's called Dude, You're Screwed. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's probably on. It's probably on like YouTube. You could find it. But basically, these are. I think one is a guy who's like an ex British Army sort of paratroop dude that trains in sort of outdoor survival. One's a Navy SEAL. One's some other guy, and they basically drop these guys off in very extreme conditions with very little equipment, and then just say, okay, you got to make it to this place. Like one time they dropped a guy off in like Lapland, and then another time they dropped him off in the sea, like the sea, like the death desert in Africa or something like that. And so you basically see what they can do. But that's it. I mean, I think a lot of times it's the will to survive when you're in a survival situation that will actually keep you alive. I mean, but but then again, nobody's an expert, and everybody does sort of stupid stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing. And give yourself a break for that, because you get tired 3 days into it, you're going to make a mistake. That's just the way it is. You're going to say, "Oh, I'm not going to really boil that." You know what I mean? It's too much of
Yeah.
a pain in the ass. I'm not going to boil that. I'm not going to make. I'm not going to. I don't need to cook that anymore. That meat looked good enough to me. Next thing you know, you got the most violent diarrhea. Do not film that if you get very bad diarrhea, but make sure that you tell us about it because
Yeah, I'll take pictures. And,
yes, yes, but not of
we'll
the
discuss
diarrhea.
it. No, not the diary. Anyway, that'll wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many. Good night from me, and it's good night from Kevin.
Good night, everybody. I'm really looking forward to this, Richard. I think I'm really proud of you that you're going to do it. I'm super proud. I really am.
Well, I'll let you know how it goes.
Yes. If you're